So not sure if most of you realize this or not, but when you're a judge, that does not give you the green light to break the law. I'm pretty sure I have that right. But to make sure, Jeremy Rosenthal, our legal expert, with us today. Jeremy, it seems like some judges are finding themselves on the wrong side of the law. You would think they would know better.
Yeah, we're in uncharted territories, to be sure. These are people who are not used to being accused. These are people who judge, right? And judge not lest ye be judged yourself. Is that's? I think I've heard that before, right? That's right. Metallica, isn't it?
I think so. I think so. Off their second album, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So this is just crazy when you start to get into this case of the judge in Milwaukee, the unlawful obstruction and concealment. Let's kind of talk about what she did, where she went wrong, and what is likely to happen to her. So let's kind of start from the beginning here. Basically, she ended up being arrested inside her courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
This was all over the fact that she was trying to conceal someone who was in the country illegally.
Right. So you've got two very, very different scenarios, the one in New Mexico and the one in Wisconsin, starting with the one in Wisconsin. This is a state judge. So remember, we've got federal judges, we have state judges.
Right.
This is a state level judge who handles misdemeanor charges. A misdemeanor is anything that carries with it, by definition, a year of jail or less.
Okay.
Traffic tickets can be misdemeanors. Most DWIs or DUIs or OUIs or whatever you call it in your state, most of those are going to be misdemeanors if it's a first-time offense. A lot of domestic assault tends to be misdemeanors. Petty theft will be misdemeanors. This is the type of judge that we're talking about. Now, having said that, most judges that fit this description are either elected or politically appointed, or are some kind of a higher level official, if you will. And I only point that out to juxtapose it against the Las Cruces judge, who is a magistrate, who is kind of more of a paycheck type person and probably not a significant political figure.
Right.
But what happens in her, and look, this happens in courtrooms all across the country every day. People without citizenship, without documents, they come to court. They get charged with whatever. They get charged with a DWI or a domestic assault or a petty theft. They come to court. They're summoned to be there. It's really uncommon for federal agents to pick you up at court. It doesn't happen much. Obviously, it's happening a little more. It's far more common for these types of agents to get you at probation or in other areas where you are exposed, if you will, to the system. If you go to jail, for instance, when you get arrested for that DWI, that's typically where you get picked up. And if you're going to get removed, that's generally where you're going to get removed. But for whatever reason, this guy was able to get out of jail, and he was coming to court. The officers in this case had with them what is called an administrative warrant, which, and this is where this thing gets super muddy and where it's not really particularly legally sexy stuff. But of course, this is where this whole thing is going to get decided, is what is an administrative warrant. But fundamentally, these ICE officers come in, and it's unclear, based on what I've read, are they in the courtroom? Do they get removed from the courtroom? What does the judge know? Does the judge know we're waiting on that guy? But I think the judge makes it clear, I don't want you in my courtroom, and I don't think that you have a valid arrest warrant for this man. You might have that administrative warrant, which is an internal document to ICE, right? It's permission for an ICE officer to go arrest you. It's not a directive like a warrant is that everybody has to drop what they're doing and get you.
Right.
And this judge says, you know what? I want you to use this door, not that door. Come with me. And the question is that obstructing the arrest of is that obstructing a federal officer from doing their job, from arresting somebody? And man, this is a really, I mean, people don't want to hear this. This is a really tight question. And this is PG-13 radio, right?
Oh yeah.
this is a pissing match. This is a pissing match, right? And so that's where we are with this. But it's a really fascinating legal question.
I mean, she's potentially facing 10 years in prison if she was convicted on both charges. The likelihood of her getting convicted, because this case has gained the notoriety and the attention that it has, seems to me like it might not likely happen, especially given that that federal judges don't really have a whole lot of like right now for the administration, it seems like.
Right. And I think they've got a bigger problem. I think they may not even be able to indict her. I'm not sure that they're going to get an indictment. And here's why. And it turns on that really muddy issue of what is an administrative warrant. So think about it like this. In America, nobody can stop you to ask you for your papers, right? That would violate the Fourth Amendment for you, me, for anybody, even somebody who is here illegally. In order to do that, these people had to have, the federal agents had to have a warrant that was signed by a judge, by a neutral, detached magistrate. An administrative warrant is created by federal law. Your boss has to sign it. And what an administrative warrant is, it says, if you see this person, you are authorized to detain him, because deportation is civil, it's not criminal. But where this gets super muddy is this. We have the federal agents, if they have a valid arrest warrant, I think there's very little question that they could walk into a state judge's courtroom and start directing traffic. As much as we might not like that, I think they probably could, at which point this judge could be out of bounds. Here, but again, to get even muddier, there is what is called a circuit court split on administrative warrants and the power that they carry. What that means is that our courts aren't even agreed on just how far an administrative warrant goes, which, if I'm defending this judge in front of the grand jury, I say, folks, not even the judges, not even the federal judges know what she should have done here. Now, to me, obviously her intent is clear when she says go out that door, not that door. And I think that you probably cross a moral line, if not a legal line there. But this one's pretty muddy. And no, I don't think the worst case happens for her.
Right.
I think she ends up being the governor of Wisconsin, probably. But yeah, I think that might happen here too. But yeah,
you make a pretty valid point there with that whole governor thing. Stranger things have happened, my friend. Stranger things have happened. So let's switch gears here and talk about this New Mexico judge, because this one is a little bit more egregious. This one is kind of interwoven. There's guns involved. There's the judge's wife involved. Now they're both in jail, and we've got gang members, apparently. Right.
Well, this guy admitted to smashing a phone with a hammer, and that's never good. So that's going to be problematic. Yeah. This one is a little more what you think of when you think of more activists kind of stepping over the line. And
correct.
So first off, he was a magistrate judge, very low level. He sets bonds. He might be able to legally evict somebody. Maybe yes, maybe no. He can marry you in Las Cruces, which is a lovely place to get married. I've actually attended a wedding in Las Cruces. I went to school not far from there. But a magistrate's a pretty low-level guy. And what happened in this case, my understanding is he was housing 3 people who were not here legally. He and his wife believed, and they told federal agents, okay, these people are awaiting their hearings for amnesty, which may be true. I don't know. But the feds came and actually did a search warrant, executed a search warrant, not on the judge, but on the illegal folks that were living in the back, well back 3 months ago, 2-3 months ago, back in February. They seized several phones, and then the law enforcement allowed them to make a call. from like the folks were being nice, and they said, sure, can we make a call? And the wife of the judge says, here, use my phone. Is my understanding. I could be getting this wrong. And they had an encode. She allowed them to make an encoded call of some kind. They give the phone back to her. Then that's the phone that they're alleged to have destroyed. So that's not good. That's not a good fact. And the feds have come back and said, I don't know that they were charged with obstructing or harboring. They're charged with tampering with evidence, which that's a terrible admission. I don't know that they found the actual phone that was hit with a hammer, but man, you would think a magistrate whose job it is to tell people to shut up, right? His job is to Mirandize people. You would think he would know better than to say that he smashed the phone. But yeah, that's what he did. And so, yeah, that one is obviously, I think, a little more hot water than the one in Milwaukee.
I mean, that's pretty much a career ender. He's resigned from the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was sanctioned so that he could never hold that position again. And I don't know if they've taken his law license or not. I didn't see for sure, but it seems like the evidence they have against this couple, this judge and his wife, I mean, to the point where these folks they have pictures of them eating dinner in their home, right? And these are they're accused members of the Tren de Aragua, which is, like MS-13 on steroids, basically, from what we understand. But it's just kind of wild that people are willing to throw their careers on something like this, especially given the climate that we are in right now, with immigration being, a particularly hot topic.
The Trump administration and Attorney General Bondi, they're certainly making their positions known and clear about these things. They're obviously using these folks as examples. And even if Judge, I believe, Dugan in Wisconsin, even if she gets no billed by the grand jury, and I think that's entirely possible, really this does send a lot of shockwaves throughout the judicial community. And not only that, and I'm not sure the complaints by the judges, and I'll just tell you as a criminal law practitioner, the main concern that you have is that when you do this, people who are undocumented will not come to court.
Right.
So they're not going to, if they think they're going to get arrested, they're not going to come there, which is why judges don't like that happening. That's why, and I have seen all sorts of, there have been plenty of situations in my time practicing law when a judge will tell police or a judge will say, we're not going to have you arrested today for whatever reason, right?
Right.
You didn't show up to court last time. There's a warrant out for you. I'm going to recall that warrant. Or, look, you guys, the police have another case against you. I'm not going to allow them to arrest you in my courtroom. You do that in the parking lot, you do that in the hallway, but you're not going to do it here. And the reason why is because court judges want their courtrooms, they want people showing up, and they don't want that to be chilled. You have, like I was saying before, when you have a person who is undocumented, their danger is exposure to the system, because you might come to court once or twice or 5 times or 10 times, but then you're going to go to your probation 24 times. That's where they get you, right? So the idea is to get them into the system, and at some point, if you're trying to make contact with these individuals for the purposes of detaining them, the more the better. You scare all the fish, right? And that's kind of the worry here, is that what may have happened. And between you, me, and the wall, I don't know in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks what difference it makes, right? I don't know if we're going to hear judges that are saying, yeah, none of the people here with Hispanic surnames have shown up today.
Right.
That could be a problem.
Yeah, I got you. And that's exactly why we have him on. Jeremy Rosenthal, our guest today, legal expert. Jeremy, always appreciate the time, my friend. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll look forward to catching up next time.
All right. Thanks, Mark. You too.